Hi guys, so I am going to do them separately. I was going to do them together, fire and water, but I decided not to. And this one is actually water. I know this says fire there. I understand. But when I get to water, you'll understand why. It's just crazy how this card popped up for water. But anyway, so, what do we think about when we're talking about the water element? The water is our emotions. It's our spirit in that way. It's our connection to what fuels us in those heart spaces. This is our heart. So this is your emotions and, what makes you feel things. It's also how we have that perception beyond the veil, right? That whole thing. It's our spirituality in that way. Whereas fire, I kind of think of that as far as spirituality. That's the spirituality in action. That's the transformation part. This is when you allow that spirituality to kind of those connections and then those emotions that brings up in you. What stirs you to want to be that way, right? Anyway, so we're going to go to our first card. So I kind of did this little thing. I don't know if you paid attention yesterday, but I was kind of doing the 4 elements, and I wanted to do them all at once, but it didn't work out that way. But in a way, I think it's kind of good because, maybe it resonates differently for other people. And maybe somebody who is a water sign might take this that way, but maybe somebody might not. And they might, I don't know. Anyways, but so our first card is kind of what the meaning behind it, the kind of the situation or the energy behind whatever this is. Okay. And so we have number 19 with fire. So this is those fire deep passionate emotions apparently. And then we have the essence of the fire card says fire consumes anything that it touches. The flames remind us of the impermanent nature of reality and how situations can quickly transform into beauty or chaos. Fire is passion, and its dancing flames invite us to reach the sky. Warmth and light are heavenly, yet too much heat can scorch us. To fully step into the energy of fire is to be utterly transformed, like the phoenix rising from the ashes, which, is a Scorpio thing. So very scorpionic energy in the fire, which is the fire of water. I get all into all that stuff, but when you look at into the different zodiac signs and the different elements and the modes that they're in, that's kind of what I think of when I think of Scorpio. Scorpio is kind of the fire of water. Anyway, yes, I really love my Scorpio husband. Anyway, so the invitation says, warm your hands and your heart by your inner fire. Let it burn away your hardships. Let it consume your pain and your sorrow. Has life become too rigid, too cold, or too superficial? Light a candle or make a bonfire and toss it into the flames. Everything that has become stiff and painful. Give it all to the fire for rapid transformation. Set your life on fire. And so that's beautiful. And when you think about it too. Okay, so this is our water element that we're talking about today. Because when I had it in different positions, I had it positioned in the water element. But anyway, it just didn't work out. What I feel this burning away what doesn't serve us and passionately transforming, these are the emotions that don't serve us. This is that part of us that maybe gives too much of our emotions away, or maybe the fact that we either stifle ourselves too much and we don't allow ourselves to have some emotions. Maybe we're afraid to let people into our hearts, right? So that kind of brings me over to this Queen of Swords card, this is the card that I wanted to represent as the energy that whoever this is about, whether it be somebody or a collective or whoever. So I feel this is a good example of the Queen of Swords is over there right by the fire, which is represented in a water reason. This is something that, there's this deep need to get this burning emotions out, or somebody who's been afraid to do that, so they kind of run cold. So I feel with this fire, you're kind of being told to let it out, just let it out, because the Queen of Swords, even though she's a loving and responsible queen, sometimes she can be a little cold, and that's because she's been there and been hurt. That's why she's where she is. So a lot of times she gets that whole persona, and I guess we're going to take it for this reading that kind of closed off a little bit because she's got things to do. And I remember a reading I got one time for myself, and one of the cards had said, and I can't even remember where it was from, it was the 3 of Swords, and it said something about because everybody always takes that as negative, and it said with your mind no longer concentrated on the pains of the heart, you were able to have your ideas set free. So it's kind of like that whole concept of like, and I don't even know why I'm bringing this up, but, and that's the thing too, like if you're too caught up in your emotions, you can't do the things you need to do sometimes. But I feel like we're kind of being asked to kind of let that go. Maybe this is somebody that feels that way all the time. Like I don't have time to be that way. I don't have time to let free and feel. I need to, I don't want to do that because then I can't do A, B, and C. And it sucks when sometimes you have to do A, B, and C. Trust me. I would rather, like I told my husband, like this morning, I said, I think I should just be one of those people that doesn't have to do things and I could just do what I want. He's like, no, I don't think that'll work. I'm like, fine, I'll just do what I have to do, I guess. Because it sucks because sometimes you want to like let loose and be whatever, or totally absolve yourself in your passions, which sometimes you have to give a little bit, and especially if you live in this world with other people in it. Now if it's just you and yourself and you can just like roam around and monk all over the place, that's cool. But a lot of times the majority of us don't have that advantage. And it just doesn't make for good family life when you're, hey, I don't want to do that today because, I want to go do what I want to do. I'm sure my family would not appreciate it if, me and my husband decided to not do dinner or, provide for them or make sure they got to school on time. There's ways you can work around it, but, we're not at that level. So we got to work with what we got, right? And I think that's part of it too. I'm kind of going way off on a tangent, but at the same time, that's part of it. Like life kind of sometimes hardens you, but you don't need it to. What you need to do is you need to find the beauty in the mundane, right? There's somebody that has to do that shit. So you might as well do it with an open heart. I used to say that all the time, like not in those words, but when I worked at the hospital for a long time, and I used to have patients that would say, oh, you're so friendly. And I'm not always friendly, let me tell you. I'm not like a bowl full of cherries all the time. I can be ornery, and back then I was very ornery. So, but I would never be that way at work because I couldn't understand going there and treating everybody that you had to be forced to be around for 8 to 12 hours a day and treat them like crap and treat your patients like crap, right? That doesn't make for a good day. So if you go in there with a good attitude, you're probably going to have things that mess you up a little bit, but at the same time, it makes your day go better. Things are easier rolling no matter how hard it is, and people respond to you better, right? If you're a grump butt, then everybody around you is going to be a grump butt, right? So anyway, I think that's kind of like saying, you may have been hurt a little bit. Things might have kind of knocked you down, or there's a survival attitude that you have to do that. But your life was meant to be lived with passion, right? So you have to kind of find that balance in there. And so then we go to, and I love that I got this card in here. So the third card is from the Santa Muerte Oracle, and I love that deck. I know I said that before, but I'm going to have to like lay them all out for you in order. It has a beautiful scene on it. And then on the other side is a Ouija board, which when I was a kid, I wasn't really into that because I kind of feel like you're kind of opening yourself up. But, now that like I've kind of adapted this, I'm not afraid of stuff type of thing. I don't know about it anymore, but either way, it's still pretty cool. So this card represents, I wanted the Santa Muerte Oracle to be the card that represents the shadow. Now, we don't need to think of the shadow as bad. Your shadow aspect really is just those parts of yourself that you suppress. So then it comes out as negative things, and it comes out as, your shadow, those things that like you don't allow to experience in a healthy way. So our shadow card, or Santa Muerte card, is number 32 with Santa Muerte, which she is kind of like the Holy Mother of Death. So she's kind of like the goddess of death, which is beautiful. So, if you're a Scorpio, I would have to say that this is a Scorpio reading because this is a water reading. Doesn't have to be a Scorpio or even a water sign, but you got fire and you got the fact that you hold in all them emotions and you're afraid to give them because you don't want to be hurt. But then you have death, which kind of helps you transform things, right? That's what we think of when we think of the death card, right? That's transformation. That's burning away of the old and allowing the new. But I also feel that this is deeper than that. I feel like with that fire and that Queen of Swords, this is somebody who is learning how to allow that fire within them burn and express it. And anyway, I'll read from the Oracle before I get on with the next card. But we have come to the last card of the world of action, and the last card of this Oracle, which concludes with the new beginning. Santa Muerte reminds us that all that all the energy we have at our disposal is a loan, and we will have to pay it back. And it is thus our responsibility to transform it in the most beautiful and positive way possible through our existence. See, I say that all the time, and I just got chills. I don't know, I get excited over everything. I hope you guys don't mind my energy. That's just who I am. But I say that all the time. I feel like living your life, you know what I mean? Like appreciating it and living it in a passionate way and enjoying it. And, you know, allowing others to enjoy theirs too. That's the appreciation. That is the worship, the ritual. That's what that is. That's the true religion. Anyway, so the energy that was present in the moment, it allows us to exist as we lay in our cribs after birth. And it lovingly holds our hand when we face the new staircase in the grave. Just as life generates death and death generates life, this card invites us to accept any change, transformation, or drastic severing of perspective with a smile. And then the advice of the dead is, make a firm decision on what to cut and what to change in your life. Otherwise, no betterment will be possible. And that's so true. So yeah, to piggyback on that whole thing, like being able to like, you know, transform those ideas or those perspectives that, you know, I can't feel, I can't express, I can't be in my passionate self, because if I do, I'm going to get hurt, right? That's part of the whole thing, though. If you get hurt, then that teaches you not to go after that again, right? And sometimes our hurts are kind of like more reflections on things that we need to change within us. Why do you value that aspect so much in somebody else? Why do you want that person to whatever, right? And it doesn't have to be that way either. I mean, there are things that, you know, you should legit not be cool with, but whatever. At the same time, that kind of transforms how you allow that, right? How do you allow that in your life? And so then we go to our last card, which in these readings, I wanted that to kind of be like our transformation. So if you look at this is the Knight of Cups. So the Knight of Cups is kind of like that chivalry guy. Like that's the knight in shining armor. He's the one that expresses passion in a loving way. He's the one that comes home from the war and his family is like, oh, I'm so glad you're home. You know what I mean? He is that guy or girl. This is somebody who is offering love and hope to others. So through all this is such a, and I got chills when I said that, like this is such a person that has been through it and learned how to transmute that pain and hurt into goodness. And so in doing that, they have a beautiful message of love that they're passing on to others. And I know there's so many of you out there that are doing that right now. So this is water, and I think it's beautiful. And I will see you guys in the fire sign reading.